Welcome back to another video. Sean Somatic here. I want to talk about trauma stays of the body. The overwhelming feeling, what's the body, what's stored with trauma, which happens, any traumatic responses, what you've occurred when you was younger, which does impact you emotionally, mentally, and it hits the hippocampus of the brain, it stores that memory, which it's an ongoing process where it lives in the nervous system. It's a flight, freeze, fawn response, which then goes into that mode of panic, and you have a tight body, knowing these things that happened to yourself, and which occurring events could have happened when you was younger. It could have happened to the point when anything what's gone through your own life, which has impacted you emotionally, mentally, which has happened, and it's hit your nervous system. And because your nervous system is into that survival mode where you're panicking and you don't feel safe in yourself, which could be a occurring event, and you don't respond to it, because when you don't respond to trauma, it impacts you in so many different ways. It's unreal, because I know for a fact every memory, everything what's stored in that brain is like a memory vault which goes back and goes back. And because we don't address these things, we don't address the trauma what we've occurred in our own life, it gets suppressed. The memories get suppressed, because as you get older, as adults, and we get busy with work, studying, stuff like that, we normalize it to the point where we continue throughout our day, throughout a week, and everything acts like it was normal, and we mask it. We mask it to the point where we have addictions, and this is what happens because we don't address it, and we may not have had the time, or we don't know how to articulate itself, because there's sometimes it might be a struggle, because all these things are very hard to digest, to understand, because everyone has different traumatic what's gone in their own life. I'll give you a prime example. I know for a fact I was scared of spiders when I was younger, 2-3 years old. Brother used to run around, probably dangle the spider in front of me, and I'd probably, scream my head off. But what happens over due time, because that was never addressed, as I get older, that gets shifted to the back, hippocampus, goes into the brain, stores there, and it doesn't get resolved. As time goes by, when it happens then, I could see a spider again and I could freak out, which I know for a fact I didn't like. When I was younger, scared of the dark, that's traumatic response. Anything could happen to me when I was younger. When being known that, when having my mum and dad around, there could be parts where there was arguing, turn the light off because I was scared, because all these things were kept on going. But then as I get older, it changes. But if you don't respond to these traumatic responses in your body, and it's the nervous system, it plays out in a different way. Over passing time, what happens is the body keeps a score. As the body keeps a score in your body and your organs and everything else, it plays out in a different way, where to the part where you stress, you have anxiety, you overthink, depression comes in, because the mind plays an overloop of the brain of the same thing, what you repeat in your mind, where you don't move forward in your own life. And these things, again, it is very stressful. It impacts you in the ways where you don't function, you don't operate, you don't make right decisions for yourself, which I know for a fact these things are very intense, because we don't express, and then we don't release the emotions, because emotions are trapped in your stomach, in your body. And this is why I always feel that when they're trapped and you don't express what you want to say, it builds up and you don't feel happy in yourself. You're not very authentic to yourself as a person. I understand as we're adults, we're responsible for our own behaviours and our own actions. And I understand we are adults where we have to take that accountability. But also sometimes people struggle to express and articulate when they've had trauma, because some people don't know where to go, some people don't know how to direct themselves, which I feel is very important, because in life we do struggle to express and articulate ourselves to the point in so many levels. And you've got to understand that these parts of our lives are hard to talk about these things, to express, and to live on a day-to-day basis. Because I feel when trauma does happen, we have to be patient with the person, And also we have to live and to feel it in ourselves to move forward in our lives. Because if that's still trapped and you don't move forward and you don't understand the parts, how it made you feel, how that feeling felt, how does it make you feel as a person, because it does play that part, which I know for a fact, once you start moving forward through the trauma, and once you start moving forward, knowing you can make these differences and these changes in your life, things are completely different. Because I know for a fact, when I've clients I've worked with, I've always explained to and spoke to them about expressing, taking the time to understand where this trauma comes from, taking the time to understand that it can be released in small amounts of time, not over too much, not overwhelming, not to the point where it's too much and they have overload and they can't talk no more and they can't express no more, because then what happens is the brain shuts down and closes those thoughts and then don't really express anything more than after that, which I've always said to my clients, take your time when you want to let out and express how you feel, and have small moments where you can talk about it and be in a safe space. Where I've always said to my clients, be in a safe space, knowing we can talk about these things and move step by step through the changes, what's happened. It takes time, and also you'll see small changes over due time where these things can get better. Understand we have to sit with it, and also knowing that it's a memory, but we know we can manage emotions. It's about regulating the nervous system, because when that traumatic response is happening to the nervous system, it's about highlighting it, identifying it, and also relaxing the nervous system as much as possible. But over due time, it takes time to process this information, because everyone has a different traumatic response. Everyone has a different output and outlook of things, because and now by the hippocampus of the brain, when things are stored and we don't move all these things and we don't address these things and help support people, which I am a big believer supporting these people. I've gone through those stages in my own life when I've struggled with things, which I deeply understand that it takes so much time and effort, but also at the end of the light of the tunnel, it will help you, and it will help you to align your authentic self, and you'll be the best version you can be. But also you understand that you'll get the right support, and also the clear light of knowing what has occurred, because sometimes we forget these things and we don't want to talk about it and we block it out and we move along with the day, which I take a step back and to get you to understand why you are these things, and these things have occurred. These things are not something that's occurred when you're younger, and why these things happen to you, and why these things are where they are. And I feel knowing that these are very important, because it's about connecting yourself with your inner child. It's about connecting and going back to the start of you, and knowing that things can slowly get better, but it takes time, the mind and the body and soul. This is why I always feel self-talk, talk to yourself as much as possible on a day-to-day basis. And it's very vital, because I feel every day gets better, but also knowing that we can say the things that we want to do. And there's other things you can actually incorporate of journaling, breath work. Breath work is massively important. Breath work is massive. It helps to release everything, all the emotions what's stored here, and releases out. You'll have a cry, but you can journal. At least you can know that you can talk, and knowing that you'll feel a lot lighter, but at least you know you've got the right support to actually move forward in your own life. I have to say, take your time when you're doing these things. And I feel these moments in our life is important to understand the trauma what you're going through. And it's okay knowing that you can talk, and it's okay that you know that you're in a safe space, and the capacity knowing that you just let out bit by bit. It doesn't have to be all in one go, because it could be a lot to process. It could be a lot that you need to kind of dive into. But I feel these things are so important, and I understand that you can be at peace. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate the time and effort of this video. On another note, I just want to say, with the podcast, it's coming soon. I know I haven't said much about it in videos at the moment, but I've got a treat for you. Trust me. Thank you again. Much appreciated.